Henderson gonna lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to the approval of the agenda.
President, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. We'll move on to public hearing regarding Unified School District number 457, proposed policy enrollment of non-resident students. Josh, go ahead.
You gotta do the declare. I declare.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Public hearing regarding the proposed policy and enrollment of non-resident students. So I declare that the public hearing for the resolution to adopt the proposed policy enrollment of non-resident students is open for discussion. Now, Josh, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I have a policy that we put together that's in front of you all. Basically, the policy, just to kind of give you a quick overview, it just says that the superintendent or his designee will do a study to determine capacity and how many students that we can take from out of district. Looking at K through 8, it'll be based on student to teacher ratio, and then 9 through 12, it's more program limitations that we have. I think important pieces to note is that that if a student is found to be in not in good standing with the district, then we don't have to let them come back the following year. There's quite a few. There are 6 different topics that would show that the student would not be in good standing. So that would be if they failed to maintain attendance of 90% or better for the school year, excluding excused absences under our board policy. If the student's parent or person acting as parent was fraudulently filled out their enrollment paperwork, if the student is not a resident of Kansas, if they're currently under suspension or expulsion from another school district in Kansas, if they have had 3 or more out of school suspensions in their current year, as long as those suspensions weren't determined to be a manifestation of their disability, and if they've been given a long-term suspension or expulsion during the year that they were enrolled with us, then they would not be considered in good standing. So that's in there. And then on the very last page of the policy, on page 6, the very last line, it says that parents shall be informed by administrative decision not to continue enrollment of a non-resident student no later than, and we left that blank. We're recommending June 1st is what we've discussed. That way, that gives us the school year, and we'll have time to kind of look at things at the end of the year to determine if those students are or are not in good standing for the upcoming year. Basically, once they're accepted with us and we take them as a non-resident transfer, then they're kind of grandfathered in and they get to come back every year and continue their enrollment with us as long as they continue to be in good standing with us. And then if they have siblings that are coming in, we would take their siblings as well. If we have more kiddos than we have spots for, we would have to do a lottery to determine which kids were accepted. And so that's something that we would have to put together as well. It's going to be a whole lot of work once we get all this put together, but that'll be a spring project that we'll be working on.
This is just in excess of our in-district kids.
Correct. Yeah. So if like say first grade, and it goes by building, it doesn't go by the district. So let's say first grade at Victor Nellis is full and I have a parent that wants to go to Victor Nellis and we're full, then we wouldn't take them. But if we had room, then we would take them. The other thing is, if the parents work for the district, they're employed by the district, then they wouldn't have to go into the lottery. If we had room, we could automatically take them without having to hold the lottery for staff, these two.
How would this apply? Like if you had a, is this supposed to ask
Yeah,
questions.
you can ask questions. Yep. And then after you're done with me, then you can open it up to them.
So how would this apply? Say you had a family that had multiple students and we had room to take the first one, but then they had a second kid, then there wasn't room in that class. How would that be handled?
I think that would be up to the parent what they would want to do. If they wanted to, at that point, it would be a lottery and we haven't enrolled any of the kiddos yet. So, you know, that would be a phone call that we would probably have with the parents to see if they wanted to separate them or what they wanted to do.
So if a non-resident student enrolls 1 year, the next year, they're automatically re-enrolled. And so their spot in the district is not considered one of the available positions.
Correct. Yep, they're kind of grandfathered in. Once they get in, then they're in. Unless they leave and want to come back later, then they would go back in the pool like everybody else.
They want to come back, then they're considered a district student at that point. They're not filling an open spot.
Correct. Yeah, we would give, they would automatically get one of the spots if they wanted to come back. And they were in good standing with us.
Do you have any idea about how many students this will affect?
I don't, Randy. You know, every year we get kiddos that transfer in from, you know, we get out of district transfers that Dr. Dominguez gets through his office. But we also have other students that transfer out too. So I don't know what that number is. I could look and see if we could find that number and tell you how many in-district transfers we've accepted this year. I can dig into that.
I think the policy speaks to it pretty clear, but unless I'm misunderstanding the Acacia eligibility, none of that changes.
Right.
Kids can't transfer in because schools. Acacia will overrule the policy.
They follow, our policy doesn't override CASA. Yeah, so they would still have to follow the same rules for CASA. That's my understanding as well. Okay, thank you.
If we did open a public hearing on this, are there any patrons that would like to address the board on this topic? Not any public comments or any more board members who would like to speak, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. President, I move that the hearing for the resolution to adopt the proposed policy enrollment of non-resident students be closed. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the hearing. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll move on to delegations. Public comments. I think we'll start with a building presentation. Kenneth Henderson.
Hi, my name's Amelia Barr. Hi, I'm Danica Saavedra. Jordan Daly. Nora Lamb.
I'm Brian Dinkle. Jared Stallman, I'm the principal. Our building presentation tonight, we have 27 members in Stuco. We do have a few Stuco members here tonight. I do want to say that this group put together a video that we're going to show here in a minute. They do a lot more than what I think you're going to see on the video. They are a very active group, and I do appreciate everything that they do for our kids, our community at KH. Mr. Dinkle and Ms. Creedon does a great job. Some of the things that they do, we do have a Veterans Day recognition this Thursday, and Stuco is in charge of that. They participate in Boo at the Zoo. They went to a Stuco Student Council leadership conference a few weeks ago. They're just pretty active. We have pep assemblies, they do pep assemblies, they lead our dances, they do lots of things. So anyways, we're just real proud of what they do and proud of Mr. Dinkle, Ms. Creedon for kind of developing the leadership within some of our kids at KH.
I'd like to say this is Nora Lamb. She's our student council president this year. And she's taken on that responsibility, and she was a member last year as well. So she's been through the grind with us. You know, you just think, okay, we're done. And then there's that next thing. And they will jump at every opportunity to be that leader in the school, to do that next project. One of the projects we didn't get mentioned was the holiday parade. This will be our 5th or 6th year in a row for doing the holiday parade. We've learned you don't just use bulletin board paper in a windstorm because you leave half of it on Main Street. So, but we've been doing a lot of the same projects year after year. This is 6 or 7 years for the Veterans Day breakfast that we hold every year, and the Travis Bachman stocking drive as well. So, got a great group of young leaders, and we hope to continue to develop that as we move forward. Oops, man, just hit start. The video was put together by the students, so I'm gonna step out.
Now I make sure of it.
There is sound.
Times.
Yeah, there was.
You guys are gonna have to do your talking. It's gonna be a lip sync. Shut the sound off.
Come on, Amelia, you narrated it before. There was sound, yeah.
Need a jump drive.
The reason why it's gone is because you're on a meet. When you're on meets, you can't really make you can't hear a lot of sound.
Let's do that. Top has the jump drive written on it. That would help. Yeah, I'm back.
Well, today I crashed the veterans breakfast every year just to shake everybody's hand, and it is worth going to see. Very organized.
As of today, and it snuck up on us, honestly. As of today, we have 15 veterans and their families attending, and we usually have about 20 to 25. We also serve the staff breakfast too, just to show our appreciation there as well.
You want us just recap a little bit about the video or?
We'll wait just a little bit longer.
Other thing that student council does every day is, they lead the pledge over the intercom every morning, a different student council member. They take a week at a time. Sometimes it takes a few days to remember it's their turn that week, but that's just another opportunity for them to be the leaders that we were hoping them to be. They take the initiative to sign up, and 27 members, we can get through almost the whole year without any repeats, so.
Those 27 members, are they seventh and eighth graders split?
Yes.
Are they mostly eighth graders or?
We're about 50-50 this year. I just got an email today that I've got a new student starting. We've got a new student starting tomorrow, and they want to be in student council. She was on the student council in Scott City, and so they enrolled her in student council. Took them in, that'll put 14 and 13, I believe, or 14, yeah, 14 and 13.
Work together to get things done.
Blue at the Zoo was really fun this year. The weather was beautiful. Kids were having a great time. They did a Halloween Town. I never saw the movie. They all went, what? This movie's from the 1990s. And they've all seen it. Not this guy.
Come on, Mr. Dingle.
I know. But we had this little coffin out there, and we had somebody jumping out and scaring people. They got kicked, they got punched. Yeah, it's fun to watch the adults jump as high as the little kids do, so.
Just want to highlight a bit about the video, then maybe what we're gonna be doing maybe in the future if you have plans.
Yeah, I have plans.
Without the video.
Here, I'll upload it later, and then we can, that way they can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the things we've been doing?
Well, at KH, we have several fall sports and we had Jordan talking about basketball and volleyball.
I liked like volleyball and basketball because like just like the team and coaches, they were really nice. Just a good opportunity.
And that was, well, he was talking about football. Football is another one of our fall sports and I do cheer. And right now we're working on a lot of stunting, which is really fun because for basketball season, a lot more girls joined and it's just been a great experience getting to know all of them. And then Allison was talking about cross country and she really liked it because it challenged her when running. And what did you? That's our KH choir. We have a concert coming up for Christmas, and we also have a robotics team.
This year's robotics team, I believe there are 25 students out with the robotics team. They've got five or six different teams of 3 working. And this is this year's challenge. We've got to create a robot that picks up those blocks and drops them in a tower. Their first tournament is actually this Saturday out at Charlestone's.
I think what they were hoping for is just to give you a glimpse into what we offer in the fall, maybe a little bit of the life of the gauge. Just kind of the goal behind this video. Leaving the well-rounded student and extracurricular activities, leadership positions as part of that growth for our students.
Video was obviously shot during the evening when there's nobody around. Because there's always somebody in the hallway.
I shot that in the morning. During
early.
first hour.
During first hour.
Yeah. People saw me walking down the hallway and they went into their classroom.
We apologize for the video, the sound not working. They did a lot of time in this together.
I think you'll enjoy it when you have the opportunity to watch it and listen to it. And I'll tell you what, they did more than I could do. There was a couple of typos in it, and I thought, I'll just be real cool, go in and edit it. Had no idea what to do. But Amelia, who spearheaded this project, was able to go in and fix those typos and add some more stuff into it. And turned out a really good video.
Does anybody have questions or?
As I went to leadership conference in Dodge, when was that?
It was last year.
We went to one it was at Garden City High School this year.
Right.
You were there?
When are you gonna do Stuco in high school?
I'm trying to, because I think it's a lot of great opportunities and scholarships.
Yeah, me too. Because of the opportunities and also because it helps make you more of a leader.
Are you all eighth graders?
I'm in seventh grade,
Me too.
Me too.
eighth grader. Things that we're hoping to do in the time to come, we're hoping to participate in the stocking drive for Christmas again, the Christmas parade, like Mr. Dinkle mentioned. We do lollipop sales for Valentine's Day, and we're hoping to do more pep rallies and maybe another school dance too. Our first school dance we had this year, it was a glow night, which was a lot of fun. We had concessions, open gym. We sold flashing sunglasses and even some glow sticks, and I think it was a really good turnout. I know a lot of my classmates always look forward to the pep rallies too for sports to recognize those. And I know last year, a bunch of the former eighth graders had a really fun time with table surfing. And this year we had a minute to win it, and all the students really liked participating in those.
Appreciate you guys' leadership at your school and all the hard work you put in. I really look forward to watching that. So thank you all so much.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come through here, we'll shake your hands and get you a little bit.
Oh, yeah, get big with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for presenting. Great job. Great job tonight. I'm gonna get presenting with these guys too. Great job.
Thank you for being here. Hey, come here, come here.
Come up here, we're gonna take a picture. Might be famous someday.
You might have the next president.
That's right.
Future president, that's right.
Hey, we don't know which one it's gonna be, so we gotta treat them all the same, so there you go. Well, did you get a pic?
Got it.
Okay.
Good job, ladies.
Good job, guys.
You ladies.
Good job.
Move on to response. The consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Second. Moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll move on to curriculum reports. We've got fall learning report, gap data by other students.
Thought it was later in the agenda.
Dr. Rock is on the road recruiting, so we're in Greenville, we're on the road recruiting at Northwest Union and RF Washington. Peggy's gonna be in for CNI.
So I got delegated. So this is a summary of our spring end of year summative state assessments. So you guys have probably had a chance to look it over since last week. There's a lot there, lots of slides, and a lot of different data comparisons that we'll go through tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me as we go or jot them down and we can go through them at the end. So the first section that we're going to look at is going to be the grade level data. So you'll see the last 6 years of state assessment data summarized, as well as a comparison to some of the area districts that have comparable size and demographics to us. Next, we went through and just did a quick glance so that you guys could look at it and see which subject areas and grade levels showed improvement, which ones did not. And that's just a 2-year comparison, not, for that 7-year span. And then we wanted to give you a summary of the junior and senior classes, their cohort groups. So it'll give you a linear progression of their state assessment progress from 1 year to the next. So it's kind of an apples to apples comparison. Just to kind of refresh your memory, level 1 on our state assessments is our lowest level and indicates the kids have a limited ability to be successful. Level 2 is they're demonstrating a basic level of understanding. Level 3 and level 4 are much more indicative of kids that are going to have post-secondary success. So that's what we kind of strive for on our state assessment. So as we go through here, we want to see those blue bars shrink and we want to see the gold and the green get larger. Just to make it a little easier to follow, the pink background's ELA, blue background is math. So for our 3rd grade CAP data, you can see that we've been kind of steady on our greens and yellows for the last 5 years, staying around that 27-point mark with a little bit more fluctuation in those blue bars at the bottom. Then this one is the comparison of Garden City, which is the red bar, to the state average. And then gold is Dodge City and green is Liberal. So on the left-hand side, those are all our level 1 numbers. We want our bars to be short on that side and we want them to be taller on the right. In general, on the 3rd grade, we tracked pretty close to what the state's levels were. I mean, we weren't terribly far off. So we're getting closer to those state averages. For our 3rd grade math data, we're seeing that the blue level 1 number gets smaller, and most recently we saw 42% of our kids achieve that level 3 and level 4, which that's what we're striving for. So when you look at our comparison to the state, our level 1s are really close to what the state's levels are. The difference in this one tended to be in level 2s. We had a little bit more level 2s than the state did, and fewer of the level 4s. For our 4th grade ELA, again, we're fairly consistent in our greens and yellows around that. Well, let me say that again. We got as high as 42% in our green and yellow before COVID. This grade, we seem to see a little bit more pain from that COVID period. Those kids or that grade level came back at a 30% success rate when we came back. But that has been progressing and increasing over the last 2 years. And then again, our level 1s are pretty close to what the state levels are. Level 4s, we are much lower than that state average. Level 2 and level 4 seems to be where we're different from the state average.
Our fourth graders, were they?
The 2021 school year, the COVID year, what grade were the fourth graders? They first graders that year or kindergartners?
It would have been first graders, right? Am I calculating that right? 3 years back? So I think that, yeah, they would have been first graders. So that would have been those very beginning literacy skills. So this one is, I think I'm going backwards here, sorry. Try this again. I should be at fourth grade math. We've again been pretty consistent in the greens and yellows there, around about 22, give or take 1 or 2 percentage points. But this past year, we did see a little bit of decrease in our level 1s. And then comparing us to state levels, we're definitely not where we want to be at this juncture. We are having a lot more level 1s than what the state average is and far fewer of the level 3s and 4s. On our 5th grade data, we showed some decreases in our higher level students again. We're down to 23% in that level 3 and level 4. And when we compare it to the state, we definitely have a lot more level 1s than what the state average is. In our math, we are currently at 15% of kids in that level 3 and 4 range. We've been pretty consistent around 50% in the level 1s. But we are higher than the state average in that level 1 band when we compare. We did go ahead and summarize science data, and our science data looks pretty good in the 5th grade. We've had about 34% of kids in that green and yellow band for the last 3 years, and been able to get a few percents out of that blue band. So we're doing pretty well on showing some progress on that 5th grade science group. And when you look at where we are compared to, schools in our area with similar demographics, we're doing a lot better in that level 1 band and not far off from state averages really in each of those bands. For 6th grade CAP, we were at 21% in those green and yellow bands in those level 3s and 4s. This year, that is a little bit lower, about 4% lower than what we had been the previous 2 years. But we're still tracking in this, generally in the same area as the state. A little bit more level 1s, a little bit less level 3s, but our 2s and 4s are pretty close to what the state averages are. Your PowerPoint has an error on this. We caught it today. Your numbers say that we had 33% in level 3 and level 4, and that was not accurate. It's 18%. So this PowerPoint that you see on the display is correct. And then when we look at the area-wide comparison, those numbers in your PowerPoint are correct. So there was a mismatch between those 2 slides. Then 7th grade ELA, we were at 20% at levels 3 and 4 last year, which was 5% lower than the previous year. But again, we're tracking fairly close to what the state averages are. The outlier is that level 3 grouping. It was a little bit more deviant than the other 3 levels. 7th grade math CAP data. We did move few kids, into that blue band again. So we're seeing some decreases in that in seventh grade math. And comparatively, our level 1 is a lot higher than the state average. When we get into the 8th grade, we were at 22% in levels 3 and 4, which was a pretty big increase from the previous year. The previous year we were at 12%. So that was a good gain. When we compare to the state, we're fairly close to state averages in the 8th grade. Eighth grade math, the 22 school year, we really kind of dipped by getting down to 8% in those higher ranges and having much higher numbers in our level 1s. We rebounded a little bit this year. We have 14% in those higher levels and 57% in those level 1s, but that's definitely not data that we want to see. We really need to see some improvement in there. Comparing to the state though, we're not as far off when you look at state averages. We have some more level 1s than the state, but not dramatic. And level 3s were a little bit fewer in the level 3s, but in general, the state averages are not great on that math assessment either. I mean, they're running almost 50% of kids in level 1 as well, so. Okay, 8th grade science, not as good as what our 5th grade science was. We had the last 2 years, we've had 15% in those level 3 and 4 bands, while 61% of our kids have been in that level 1. Went the wrong direction, sorry. And we're not really close to state averages on that. So our 8th grade science, we're struggling a little bit more with. 10th grade ELA, we went from 10% in levels 3 and 4 to 19% this year. So there were some good gains over the past year. And when you look at state comparisons, we have more level 1s, but our level 2s and 3s are not terribly far off. So math, 70% of our kids are in level 1 on our math assessment. 9% are at levels 3 and 4. And when we look at state comparisons, we definitely are different in our averages at level 1. We have a lot more kids in that level 1 band for 10th grade math. And for high school science, they only take the science assessment their 11th grade year. The last 3 years, we've had about 12 to 13% in those higher ranges and about 65% in the lower. And when you look at those state comparisons, yeah, we have a lot more kids in that level 1 band than what the state average is. Just as a quick glance, for academic success, just comparing the 2022 data to 2023, this will give you a quick glance of did test results improve from 22 to 23 and by how much? You want to see green there. If it's red, it means that from the 22 school year to the 23 school year, we decreased. And we want the level 1s to decrease. We want the 3s and 4s to increase. So for math, and for science. So this is your cohort comparison. So for ELA, our current seniors, so from 5th grade through high school, this is where they performed. The yellow bands are the level ones, which is our lowest levels. And then red would be level 2, blue is level 3, and green is level 4. So we want to see those gold numbers decrease, and we're definitely seeing that increase. Math, same pattern. We have 72% of our kids performing in that lowest band at high school math assessment. And when this is, tracking the same group of kids. So when they took this assessment in 5th grade, we had less than 50% in that level. For our current juniors, this is their assessment results from 4th grade through high school. And math. So our goals in our KISA cycle over the next 5 years are to increase the number of kids that we have performing in those level 3 and 4 bands. So when we started this goal in 2022 for ELA, we had 22.42% of our kids in the level 3, level 4 groups. In 2023, this past year, we had 23.08. So we showed a little bit of improvement. Our goal is to get to 30% by the end of our KISA cycle in 2027. By comparison, state averages for ELA are actually 33%. So it gets us close to what that state average is. For math, we started out at 17.85. This past year, we were 19% district-wide average. We want to get to 25% before the end of our 5-year KISA cycle. By comparison, the state's average is 31.29 for all the kids across the state. Things that we're doing to try to improve that, we're continuing our work with T&TP. This year, our focus has been a lot on unit planning and text planning. How are we supporting teachers in being prepared for implementing rigorous, strong instructional lessons? We're implementing letters training. K through 3, we will have all teachers trained in letters training within the next 2 years. I know some of our ELA data certainly had some concerns in it. And last year, I believe we talked to you guys multiple times about our concerns with phonics, and our FastBridge numbers were very concerning in the realm of phonics. And if kids can't read words, that's impacting those high school assessments as well. So implementing UFly and getting a good phonics base for our kids, we feel like is going to have some improvement in some of these scores as well. And then we are implementing Dr. Scott's behavior strategies to try to increase, number one, engagement as well as behavior in classrooms so that we have more instructional time and not distractions with behaviors. What questions can I answer for you?
I have lots of thoughts on this. But first of all, thank you for your presentation and all the information. You're welcome. I'm just gonna start rambling.
Yep.
Is that okay? This is how I ended up on the board, all this stuff. And that's what I'm thinking back to because my daughter's a senior.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kind of talk to the room and not ignore you, but I don't want to put you on the spot. That's why. And I just think it's interesting because she would have been a first grader when all the curriculum changes came through the state. So I may be looking even bigger than we need to. It's just hard because this is a snapshot of skills on a certain day with a specific test for all our kids. And there's a lot of good things in there, but it also concerns me with the numbers. So I guess the questions running through my head is, yes, we're constantly working to improve instructor skills and the ability for our teachers to have the skills they need to teach our kids, but where are we at compared to before we implemented college and career ready standards? I'm just curious if we're looking that far back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
So a couple
this senior class would be, after them, it'll basically be students that have only been
Yeah.
in that
And I can't remember what year we adopted the new state assessment model. It's,
And that's the other change I was curious
Yeah,
about. I
so
don't remember that.
I will tell you that I've been in multiple meetings where they talk about our state assessment's one of the most rigorous in the country.
So is it really giving us a picture of what our kids need is my question,
Yeah,
because
so-
I want to see all this information, understand it, but is it
Right,
the whole picture? Are we making changes just based on this, or are we looking at the whole picture?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I think we're looking at everything. I mean, and we continually try to really, I mean, pinpoint specific things that we need to get better at and ways that we can support. I think, you know, Heather talking about phonics and how phonics has been, that's not been an area of strength. Quite honestly, I think in the district up until recently, I mean, we identified that phonemic awareness was an area where our kids were really struggling with. Just even before we even get to the phonics stage, they've got to have a background in phonemic awareness. And they didn't really have that. So, you know, last year we implemented Haggerty. And I think that really, we're seeing a lot of good results from that. The preliminary data looks really good from implementing Haggerty last year. And so then the next step is to look at phonics. And so this year, we kind of piloted U-Fly in a couple of buildings last year, and we're implementing that more at all the elementary schools, and we're even taking it all the way up through the middle schools and some of the kiddos that we're identifying that don't have that phonetic background at the middle school level. We're doing interventions with them to try to get some of those skills in place to help them. So I mean, I think we're definitely working towards that.
and that answers my question. The numbers can just get intimidating, and I just
Yeah.
really wanted to encompass that there's more that the district's doing. We still have lots of challenges, but
Yeah.
like adding the phonics in, or with the math, I think we've gone back to adding some of the basic math facts, beginning stuff that was kind of left out for
Yeah,
a while.
I think Eureka Squared, they take a different approach. I think really breaking down the numbers and getting the kids to understand, instead of just memorizing 5 + 5, understanding that it's five items
Right,
plus 5
right.
items equal 10, and really getting them.
But I'll
to
debate
get
you on that, because sometimes I really think if they memorize it first and then understand
Well,
it,
yeah,
sometimes it makes sense
but
for
they need to
some kids.
understand, they need to understand the concept.
Right, I agree,
You know,
I agree.
So,
I think one of the things we're really focusing on though is if we can get kids to be successful on a rigorous assessment, then they're going to be more likely to be successful when
right,
they go into a post-secondary program. If we give them something that isn't as rigorous, and our numbers look better, but they get to college and can't be successful there, I don't know that we're better off. And so when a lot of our comparisons of are we comparable to other state averages kind of gives us an indicator, because we know our demographics are a little bit different. You know, we have some challenges here that they don't have in some of the other regions of the state. And if we can be comparable to them, then it's a pretty good indication that our kids can go somewhere and be successful post-secondary. And that's what we want. We want whatever path kids are gonna take after high school, that they be successful in it, and that we've given them the skills to be able to be successful.
And we set those expectations high.
Yeah.
I mean, even with all their challenges.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
And I think that's been something that we've really worked with TNTP on. Even, you know, myself as a teacher, you know, several years ago, we did so many adaptations for kids that it kind of quit being kids were reading, kids were listening. And then they get to the ACT test and they can't read it. Well, they haven't been expected to read it because we were reading everything to them in class. So, you know, we've really had a pretty strong mind shift over the past 2 to 3 years in the work we've done with them, that we have to push kids to do that for themselves. And we're just over scaffolding things a lot in the mindset of we want kids to be successful and we want them to be happy when they leave at the end of the day. But we're not challenging them to become better readers and better students when we do that.
Well, and I think we should set those standards high. I struggled with when the standards changed, that some things were pushed above their developmental level. And I'm talking elementary, that's
Yeah.
where I'm more comfortable discussing than high school. So I worry about that a little bit, where kindergartens become first grade and first grades, and some of those skills that they're not quite ready for.
I think the state has recognized that, and we've recognized that too, because, you know, like even having purposeful play come back to kindergarten. I mean, you know, 15 years ago when I was the assistant principal at BO, I mean, pretty much took all of that out of kindergarten. It was all academic focused, and now bringing those things back and giving those kids opportunities to play, because they learn a lot through play,
Right.
and they've missed out on those opportunities. So I think bringing those things back in is gonna be beneficial, because that's gonna help with the social development, which then is gonna hopefully get them more engaged and be better students.
And I apologize if I'm micromanaging, maybe I should sit on curriculum instead of in the board chair, but, it's just information that intrigues me, so.
Yeah, no, those are good questions.
And I think we have new ELA standards coming out next year. I mean, they're out so that we can see them. They'll be implemented next school year.
Mhm.
And it goes back to that science of reading foundational skills in those early grades. So I think there's been a real mind shift with the science of reading, that we've been teaching reading wrong, and we've got to get those foundational skills first before we try to get into some of those things that they're not really ready for quite yet because they haven't learned to decode.
And reading's the key to every other subject, so.
Yes. Yeah.
But I know we have some great teachers
Yeah,
and.
well, in science, I would argue that that's probably where our struggle is with our science
Yeah.
assessment bias,
Yeah.
because the content there is very difficult. I mean, the vocabulary is huge, and if you don't have that background, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, at the 8th grade, I was monitoring some kids that had a quiet environment where they were taking their assessment. And one of them raised his hand and said, I can't even find the question, because there were 5 pages of things they had to read through.
Uh-huh.
You know, 5 screenshots they had to read through to get to the question.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's a lot. And,
Yeah.
And stamina, I mean, having that stamina is a big thing for our
Right.
kids too. That's where the text complexity is really important.
Thank you. Next.
These tests, they're done every year, correct?
yes, yes. They are end of year assessments. The window opens when we return from spring break and closes a little bit before the end of April.
So the data on the sophomore or junior and senior classes shows most of the subjects a pretty steady climb in level 1s from 5th grade on, and a decline in the 2s and 3s and 4s. What tools and strategies are we looking at implementing for those middle schoolers and kids who are currently in middle school or early high school to kind of prevent that pattern from continuing?
So, you know, you posed that question to us at the end of last year when we summarized our FastBridge data, and that's one of the discussions that Dr. Rock and I started off when she got here this summer. And we started pulling data, FastBridge data, assessment data, and put it together to share with both intermediate centers and middle schools, because our kids consistently after grade 4, around 40 to 50% of kids cannot pass the phonics screener on FastBridge. And if they can't do that, the likelihood of them reading the state assessment and understanding it are extremely slim. So we started with principals and then started working with interventionists and special ed teachers, you know, all those support people on implementing UFly to address that there's a phonics need there. And until we address that, it's going to be really hard for them to be successful in actual comprehension skills. So this year, you know, one of the things we're really targeting is getting that phonics base for those kids who leave elementary school and still don't have it. Because I would say that some of this data that we're seeing in high school is influenced by the fact that kids can't read the test.
As a district, we track post-secondary success.
The state of Kansas does.
Do you have access to that data?
It's on our building report card.
So I'd be interested, so most all grade levels, if you look at the criteria of this, and I understand this is just a snapshot on a certain day or certain days, but most of the kids, according to, you know, your definition of college ready, there's about 10 to 20% of them that basically fall into that category. I'd be curious to see the data of our post-secondary success, if we're higher than that or lower than that, to kind of tie these two sets of.
I think we're higher than that, right? I was thinking 40-some percent.
Yeah, I wanna say 42%. I've got it in my office.
Our
So,
other key
and that data is a little,
Skewed because.
it's a little wonky because you're a couple years out. And so when we're looking at it, we're looking 2 years. We're 2 years behind with that data as we get it. But yeah, We're higher than where the state would predict us to be. Based on our demographics. But yeah, I can get that for you, John.
Heather, I would also say ASDE, Dr. Watson being lead on that, saying a high one or even a low two canon is post-secondary ready to a degree because the test is nationally normed. It is very rigorous. So with that being said, 40% of the jobs in Kansas don't require a post-secondary degree. So there's, going back to your point, John, it's probably 42% easily ready to go on a post-secondary regardless of what we're doing on 3s and 4s. However, if that's the metric, and that is what we're being tested on, we want to show growth in that, want to show success on those measures as well as post-secondary readiness also.
That's the struggle with our state assessment, you know, in the old days when we were AYP, we had five levels. And so the top 3 were grade level, the bottom 2 were not at grade level. So now that we've gone to this new model with just 4 levels, really if you're in the middle 2s, you're pretty good understanding of the content. That's not how it's observed, I think, in public.
Post-secondary success, by their definition, you know, completing your CNA, having any kind of certificate is considered post-secondary success. College degrees, post-secondary success. Military is not.
They don't track.
Because they don't track it. So all of our kids that go in the military, there's no record of that.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that factor into that kind of skew that data. I mean, not just how well our data correlates to that. I mean, there's just things in their definition don't necessarily line up either.
Yeah, I was just thinking from a data standpoint, and you'd have to massage the numbers a little bit because obviously this would be on all students. Not all students choose to go post-secondary. So you'd have to massage the numbers a little bit, but I'm just kind of curious if, you know, this is a true indication of if we are higher or lower than post-secondary success. You know.
Yeah, I get those numbers right.
Our second KISA goal is aligned.
That's our
to
second
that, isn't
KISA
it?
goal is post-secondary success. I just don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I should have them. Honestly, yeah, before you leave, I can even show you. It's in my office on a big board. Heather and I were just looking at it today.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Up to new business.
So, yeah. So basically what the board needs to do is they need to adopt a resolution for the enrollment of non-resident students. And I believe we need to do a roll call vote for it, John. So basically the resolution just says that we're going to adopt a policy that's going to be, or we're going to adopt the resolution tonight that says that we're going to adopt a policy in an upcoming board meeting. So that way we have time for, if there are patrons that want to reach out to you all or to us with concerns or questions before the adoption of the policy. So all we need to do tonight is just take action on the resolution.
Can you clarify, the adoption of the policy is statutory requirement,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
We don't really have a choice. I mean, at the end of the day, it is local control. So you guys can dig your heels in and say, yeah, we're not going to do it, but there'll be other consequences that would come from that. So, but tonight, all we need to do is just adopt the resolution.
It's a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. That's my understanding.
We need a motion to adopt the second. We need to go one time.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yeah. Or you can do a show of hands, right, Jennifer? Or do we need to go one by one?
No, sure.
President, I move to adopt the resolution for adopting policy regarding enrollment of non-resident students.
Second,
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded that we adopt a resolution to adopt a policy regarding enrollment of non-resident students at a future meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please show right hand. Raise your right hand. Curriculum council?
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan's out recruiting too, so
Okay,
I'm gonna cover that. You guys wanna come up? I've got some folks from his building though.
okay, great.
So basically, we have a course that we want to add to the curriculum list. Our kiddos that are at the therapeutic school, sometimes getting all of the classes in is a struggle. They go to group every day for an hour. And so what we would like to propose is that they would be able to use that time for their ELA elective course, instead of just a regular elective. Currently, right now, they're allowed to use it as an elective. But that would allow them to use it as one of their ELA elective courses. That they have to take, they have to have a half credit of an ELA elective for graduation requirements.
In our building, we do full credit because we're the 21.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yep, full credit. My bad.
That's okay. Like at the high school, they require oral communication. We don't require that. We just require 2 language art electives.
Yeah.
Half a credit each.
Does it include Teddy time
We can.
in there?
That's separate.
So this does not, this isn't a curriculum change, this is just a reclassification?
Yeah, it'd be a reclassification of, it's the same course. So right now they just use it as a regular elective. They get an elective credit. Now they'll be able to count it as their ELA elective.
And if they feel that, then they could still count it as an elective. It would kind of dual count.
They have to be in group every day for an hour. And so this would.
Questions about this?
Do you have anything else you want to share with us on it or?
Unless you guys have questions.
Okay.
I didn't know how much you guys saw that went to curriculum council, but you know, we're just excited. Karen's in our building. So this is really the first year that we've had a set curriculum. I mean, they've done lots of different things, but it's nice that we have the set curriculum. So we really feel like the kids are getting what they need for that credit.
Please.
Questions for Josh?
With the present, it's to approve it as a half a credit per semester.
Our TEP are really just confusing, but TEP still goes on semester credits, where the Achieve side goes on quarter credits. But at the end of the year, they ultimately could have a full credit of language art elective or an elective by their group.
I move we approve the new course, in personal and social development. Is that what it is? Or CHE.
Moved and seconded that we approve a new course at Emergency Achieve. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Discussion. Put it in one.
Just, thank the Kenneth Henderson students that came. I always enjoy those presentations and see all the hard work that they're doing on that, and, get out and vote. Tomorrow's the last chance.
I appreciate the deep dive into the curriculum for the AP data tonight. Obviously, we know that there's areas for improvement, but I appreciate all the effort and intentionality that's being put towards it right now. So thank you very much for that.
Parent teacher conferences, and I had teachers comment that there seemed to be good attendance at the middle school and high school level, so I'll be curious to hear district-wide how the Monday, Tuesday went versus the end of the week, but it was nice to get out, meet some different teachers, see how the year's going. Thank you for that. I also enjoy the students coming, reading the pledge, and this little preview or view of what they do.
Yes, sir. Just engagement, enrichment, empowerment. Thank you, curriculum instruction for coming in. Kenneth Henderson for coming in. Last year, we were hyper focused on reading. Definitely wanted to focus on the phonics, the phonemic awareness, the 5 components of literacy moving forward. So, and Andy alluded to even last year, 4th grade through juniors in high school, what are we doing for those individuals also? So that's where the phonemic awareness and the phonics really is going to pay huge dividends. Clearly, some of you alluded to 3 years ago, these students were in this point now, 3 years later, we still got to have a hyper focus on engagement, enrichment, empowerment, and the science of reading is going to help us in that too. So we're going to have great gains. It's going to take some time, but definitely thank everybody for the amount of work. And anytime you get parent-teacher conference, anytime you get parents in the building, that's always a big plus and move us forward as far as engagement. And bring in the child and engage them, and it brings families in. So really appreciate that.
Executive session.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss a personal matter with an attorney from the Kansas Association of School Boards pursuant the expectation for matters which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship under coma, beginning at 8:10. 7:10. And the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at 7:25.
7:25. She is on her way.
I would like to invite Dr. Dominguez, Josh Guyman, and Jennifer Cunningham to join us in the executive session.
Second.
Sorry, we need to vote.
It's been moved and seconded that we move to executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.